What's up, everybody? It's Fireplace Friday. I'm Jeremy, your host here at Fluesbrothers Chimney Service World Headquarters, sitting at my desk again. It's very busy this time of year. It's always funny because everything just gets backed up, and the weather is very cold today. It's went from nice to cold. It's kind of that weird time of year, at least in Kansas. We'll have ice in the morning and then sun in the afternoon. But we love Kansas and Missouri, and that's why we service the area here, and we live here. So everything's going good around here. The phones are obviously ringing off the hook, which is very common. We only got a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, so there's always a mad rush with some people, but they've been kind of hit or miss sometimes. One thing that I listen to, some calls here and there. I can hear the girls talking from my office or whatever. We've got let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5 people answering the phones, which is nice because that's what a good company will do. If you call and you get a voicemail or a machine or something, it's just because literally all the phones have blown up at the same time, and there are trends. People will call over a lunch break or after they get off work, or maybe certain days are busier or what have you. So be patient with every chimney sweep out there. Some guys don't have an office phone, so they have to let it go to voicemail and then try to keep up throughout the day. We don't fly that way. I've always I did when I first started, but I always suggest to people get a person to answer your phone first, because it really helps out customers and things. But just as a customer, realize that when you call, I'm always surprised how many people call and they say, well, can I talk to a technician? Well, technicians are out in the field busy and running all day long, and it's real hard and interrupting to stop their day so they can, return a phone call or something. So usually they'll do it, within a business day or two, and that's for people we've been out on. If it's somebody new calling in, unfortunately, we can't be a chimney helpline. We do set up appointments and come out and do inspections so we can give you real answers, not just some fictional answer that you might, do a research on the internet and hopefully get something. But the internet is full of truths. All truth is on the internet, but not all the internet is truth. A wise friend of mine said a long time ago. So that's why service companies exist. And I wanted to kind of go over today what the standard process is for setting up a chimney appointment. And a lot of people, I find that most customers that call and have never, most of them have never had a chimney service out. It's amazing. The vast majority of people have never had a chimney service, never had their fireplace worked on. The chimney's, 20, 40, 80, 60, 100 years old and never had any work done on it. And then there's always this shock factor that there's, maintenance and problems or what have you, but we're talking about a structure that's never had any work done on it. So that's why it's so important, and that's why there's also inspection standards in our industry, because so many people will call and they'll say, I want a wood stove or I want a gas log set or what have you. I just had this call this morning. I've got a customer that has a gas fireplace and wants a wood burning fireplace. Well, that could be possible. It just depends on what kind of gas fireplace they have, on whether it can be converted to wood, or if it might be a total tear out and replace, or it might not even be feasible. So that's why we do an inspection on everything. That's why they have those standards of inspection. So we can come out and not only just find out what's going on, but also what your needs are, what your wants are, and then here's your overall condition, so you can make a choice based on that, because wants and needs and what can possibly be done can be all different things, and we want something safe because we're having fire in our home. I don't think people sometimes take fire, they take it for granted and they don't realize how destructive it can be. I saw a post on Facebook, and this happens to us maybe once a year, where we show up and someone either has their gas logs burning on a fireplace that we're getting ready to service, or they still have a hot fire in their fireplace or wood stove or whatever, and they go, well, can't you clean it around it or whatever? Well, it's extremely, it ruins our tools and things. So that's why we remind people when we call, because some people will think, well, that's silly. Why are they telling us don't have a fire before our service? Of course I'm not going to have one. Well, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people that, I showed up, and my most notorious story is I showed up, and the lady had her gas fireplace going in her kitchen, and she had 3 fireplaces in the house. And I go, which one are we servicing? She said, oh, that one right there. And I said, the one that's lit? And she said, oh, hang on. You just turn it off, and she turned the gas key off, and the flame went out on the gas logs. And I said, well, can you do me a favor? She said, what? And I said, can you open and close the damper for me, and also move those logs out? And she goes, well, they're hot. And I said, exactly. I said, that's great, but a lot of people think of a fireplace as like a television or something, where you just turn it on and you turn it off as needed. Now, some of them work that way, but there still is a heat factor. There's still a danger factor and things of that. So don't ever take it for granted. Don't ever take fire for granted, and have it inspected so you know where you're at before you try to make decisions on things. A lot of people will say, when we say, have you ever had your chimney inspected or serviced, they'll say, oh yeah, when I first bought the house, the home inspector did it. Okay, well, home inspectors, they might have huge limitations. Typically, a lot of them have huge limitations on how thorough or how deep of an inspection. Most of them just check it to see, okay, is the damper working? Does anything look funny right here on the inside or outside? But we're not running a camera. We're not doing an in-depth inspection, very thorough inspection. But they'll always put a disclaimer. So I always tell people, now, if you think you had a chimney inspection, then you need to go back and read the report, because a lot of times they just disclaim, hey, we don't check this, we just did a job. You need to hire a professional, certified individual, licensed individual, to check this out for you to make sure it's fire worthy or what have you. So process setting up the appointment, you call in. And most good offices are going to say, where are you located? And the reason they're asking that is not only for scheduling purposes, but also to make sure, before we get into a big conversation, that we're even in your service area. Because Kansas City, just like all cities, is a big metropolitan area. We might not go. We get calls a couple hours from Kansas City, and we don't go everywhere, but we do give them references and things like that. There might be areas that we used to go to, but we don't go to anymore, just because there wasn't a volume of business enough that we were able to stay busy enough by going those areas, and they're kind of one-off, so it was eating up a lot of our time, because we're trying to serve as many people as possible, as efficiently as possible, and do a good job for them. And when we get outside of that realm, it gets pretty hard sometimes. So then they'll ask, typically, how many fireplaces do you have in your home? Because a lot of people think, well, I have got 3 or 4 fireplaces, but they all share the same chimney. Well, it's just like having 3 or 4 bathrooms in a house. Each one of those bathrooms is individual, and they're going to have their own things, just like a fireplace. It's going to have its own individual flue system and everything. Just because it's harbored under one chimney doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own firebox, its own smoke chamber, its own flue lining and everything. So each one of those is going to have its own individual fee for inspection and or cleaning or what have you. And then they'll ask, is it a gas burning? Does it have a wood stove installed into it or anything like that? That way we can get you to proper pricing or whatever. Get a lot of calls this time of year, people looking for free estimates, or they've got a project they want or whatever. Typically, a lot of chimney companies turn off any type of complimentary services or bigger project stuff, because they really need to. They get a lot of volume and they get booked out very far, and a lot of people that want that. So the best time to do bigger projects and masonry work and things like that is usually during the spring and summer. So your chimney service might put you off on some of work. Like, let's say chimney company came out and found that you needed some work on your fireplace or whatever. They might be able to do part of it, and then depending on the weather, you might have to hold off on a little bit of it. So that's why it's so important to get this stuff done during the spring and summer, and not wait until it's so cold outside But like I said, it's just kind of nature of the game. People think of, oh, it's cold outside. Oh, I want to have a fire. Oh, I need to probably have this checked out. So, and then of course the chimney service that you utilize will try to set you up on future services during the spring and summer. Usually give you a nice discount or a coupon or maybe a program or something. And that, at least that's what we do for our customers. But a free estimate is not an inspection. If you have something specific, or we get a lot of calls. Well, I just bought this house and I was told that the crown and maybe some other minor things need to be repaired, and that's it. Everything else is fine. And we go, well, did you have an inspection? Well, et cetera, because they're just going off of things that were noticed or visually seen, and so I always tell people, look, when it comes to things like that, we have an exterior only inspection that we don't do a lot because most people want to know the interior stuff and the functioning of it too. So the interior and exterior portion, checking it all out, running a camera up the inside to make sure everything looks good, taking pictures of the outside, and making sure everything's being checked out systematically is the way to go. And you don't get that with any type of a free service, because that is a major proponent of how chimney companies make their money is inspections. And then they have those standards set up because really before you change an appliance out or you convert fuels or go to use a fireplace, you really need what's called a level 2 inspections. When property is changing hands or anything like that, it's a very good overall general inspection that includes a video scan of the inside to make sure everything's in good shape. Because just because one part looks good, it might be that the rest of it might have problems or what have you. And you want to know exactly where you stand on something. You don't want an appliance installed into a dilapidated chimney. You don't want an appliance installed if there's a hidden breaching somewhere or something that just can't be seen with the naked eye. Because so many people will say, well, they just checked out with a flashlight and it said it's good to go, or they said it needs $10,000 worth of work or whatever. And I go, well, just a flashlight. It's so hard. It's so hard to get any type of information just off of a flashlight when we have the access to technology that does a good job and takes good photos and making sure that everything is done properly, and that the appliance that you're planning on installing is a good fit for that, because it might not be. And of course, we can't run the streets all day doing these things for free. So if you've got somebody that's saying they'll do an inspection for free, always buyer beware. When someone comes out to give you an estimate, whether it be free or what have you, or does something for nothing, they have to make a certain return on that per service call. So they might be suggesting things that are a little less than good for you. They might be suggesting stuff that maybe you don't need, maybe you do need. Who knows? But I do know one thing: if time is money, and it costs money to pay people and have trucks and have knowledge and everything else. And so at the end of the day, knowledge is something that is powerful, and it's definitely something, but time is money, and you want someone that's unbiased. And if they're being paid to give you an honest, this is the overall assessment or whatever, then they can be totally honest with you, and they don't have to sell you something in order to make sure they're making their living as well. And then, at least for us too, we make it, once we come out for a service call inspection or whatever, that fee, we if there are things that need to be fixed or maintained or anything, that fee can be applied to those items, depending on, the cost. Because of course there is a threshold, just like everything in life, like the buy one, get one free thing. There's thresholds on how they can offer that. So we have the same thing too. I do know that one thing that always happens is when someone doesn't realize that maybe someone didn't do a full inspection, or they had one part of their chimney fixed and it didn't fix the rest of it. there's always anger and frustration at that, and it's hard to tell if they're angry and frustrated at themselves because they should have had this done or that done. And I hear that all the time. Well, we should have done this, we should have done that. Well, it's true, but all of us are trying to get through life, and it isn't like we get a manual. We went over with our staff today, some things about healthcare coverage and stuff, and not going to an emergency room just for a cold, and setting and making sure you have a good healthcare provider and things like that. And it's just stuff that people aren't taught this stuff, and so we're able to share that knowledge with even our staff, and the same thing with customers. We're able to share our knowledge and experience with customers and help them make logical decisions, know exactly what shape their entire system is in, so they know what their options are, rather than just settling for something or doing something and hoping that it's going to fix your problem or what have you, or maintenance issues or what have you. So let me see. I made some other notes about that. Gives an honest overview, as we aren't forcing you into a sale. There's no value in anything for free, except like I said, you want to make sure that it's logical stuff and not showing pictures of damage and stuff like that. Does it really exist? Who knows what's going on? You just can't look at something with a flashlight and say, oh yeah, this. A lot of people, when like I even talked about this when we were getting some work done, because we own houses too. We're homeowners as well. So is everybody that works here. And sometimes we need to hire service companies. But one thing I found that in a lot of the staple things like countertops and floor refinishing and stuff, I had a lot of challenges getting people, to come out and look at the situation and then give us some estimates on refinishing floors, countertops, things like that. I even had people show up, and when they did show up, they were late showing up. They give you a time. They wouldn't let you know, hey, we're on our way or anything, which is just absurd with all the communication methods we have. And then they'd show up, and then they'd do whatever they're doing, and then I'd never hear back from them again. And that happens a lot. And I just heard it yesterday from a customer. They're having a door redone in their house, and they're supposed to be there that day, and they never showed up. So they're calling them while I'm over there going, hey, no one showed up today. Is anybody coming tomorrow? What's going on? And that's just silliness. That none of that should ever happen. Communication is key. If you have a question, hey, can I get a shorter arrival time? What are you thinking? Or I'm just busy today, or this or that. But it always seems like the consistent thing is on the salesman that a lot of the free estimate companies send out. We're not just talking chimneys. We're talking other industries too, even chimneys too. That some ball gets dropped somewhere because, again, there's no value. No one owes anybody anything. So that's another good benefit of having a thorough inspection, not only to find out, because an inspection, especially a thorough one, is not being performed if someone's just coming out on a sales call or whatever. And you want to know exactly what the whole condition is and what all the components and everything's going on, because that way, you aren't spending money on something that is going to end up having to spend money again because that wasn't getting you to where you needed to be before. So it's just a good investment to know exactly, buy an expert, knowing what's going on. Also, that expert then has transacted money, so they will get you those estimates and that complete service, and you aren't chasing yourself around. And and because, again, we want to be more educators than just salesmen when it comes to things. We want to get you to your happy spot and help you out with all of that. So you set up the appointment. It looks like it's good. They give you an arrival time. We give a pretty short window, and then the tech, you get notification en route. You also get a reminder, like the dentist does the day before. That way we can keep our trucks on the road and no one forgets the appointment, because everybody is extremely busy. I'm always surprised how many people don't put alerts, don't set alarms on their calendars, on their phone. We've got this beautiful device I'm talking into, just amazing right now, that has all these things things that can help keep you organized. It's just a matter of doing it and putting it in there, and then everything works out well. But to help people along with that, we do send reminders and we call en route, and we don't have very many problems with doing that. There are the occasional, and I don't know what we can do. We did all of our part and everything, but hardly ever happens. So it's nice having a company that you're dealing with that goes through that whole gambit, rather than just somebody who isn't really serious, maybe overloaded with work, might show up, might not show up, things of that nature. You want a good relationship, because all relationships have to be win-win. So, when you call and maybe the company doesn't offer the service you're looking for, you ask them, flat out, do you do this, do you do that? And they don't, then just drop it at that and find another service or what have you. There's a lot of services we don't do. And so we either recommend someone else, or maybe it's something we don't have anybody for, and we just pass it on. We just can't. I had a contractor asking if we do partnerships or subcontracting. We really don't. We get a lot of contractors that'll hire us to come out and check out their customer's house or chimney or what have you, and that's fine. We do a lot of that, but to be a subcontractor for somebody, I don't think we could dedicate that much time or a special crew to be able to meet all those deadlines and everything. We'd rather be working for with the homeowner and not be locked down to that relationship. Because it frees us up to help more people in a more efficient manner too. So, when I talked to the contract, they were also talking about options for people and things like that. And we said, well, we're more of a service-based business. If you're looking for an actual fireplace shop where people walk into, with a big showroom and everything, we have vendors that we work with that too. That way it keeps everybody busy, and then they give us the stuff that is more up our alley and everything. So yeah, that's about it for today. Hopefully this was a little informative, and then obviously once the appointment's set and everything, sometimes a lot of times we have a bump up list. So if you're a person that is available a little bit more often, a little bit more of a schedule that can move around, that's always helpful. Usually it's a pretty last minute thing, like, hey, we can come now. But that always helps people out, and if you're available, great. And if you're not, then we move on to the next one. That's okay. It's just, we always try to keep that spinning, always trying to help you out, always trying to get to you efficiently and help you out efficiently. And that's the name of the game. But yeah, always realize everybody's out there working hard and they're doing their best. So be patient, and make everything a win-win situation. Not every company, not every technician might be up your alley. Not everybody gets along in life or what have you. Maybe you love somebody else, but that doesn't mean you have to hate on the person that maybe didn't fit your mold. So just be very informative and open and honest with things, and don't try to take advantage of situations that way that and that way you don't get taken advantage of at the same time. It shouldn't be a threat or a draw the line or any of that stuff when you're working with a service company. It should be a win-win relationship. And that service company has to charge for their time, and has to charge. It costs money to send people out and run a company and everything, just like whatever company you work for. They have to charge adequately so they can staff you and offer you benefits and a decent living. And of course, that doesn't all come right out of that one customer's pocket. It gets spread out over many customers, and that way everybody, everything has a fair share and a chunk to it. So the company might provide benefits, but it isn't you that's paying that entire benefit bill. It's spread out over thousands of customers. And it ends up, that way you can get a good person, and the whole ball just keeps moving, and everything works out well in life for everybody. And that's how business works. So anyways, hopefully you got something out of this. It was a little bit more of a process for this time of year, and making sure that expectations are met. And if you have any questions or anything, or would like to get your chimney serviced and you're in the Kansas City area, give us a call at the office, 913-236-7141. Short of that, it's a little chillier outside. Hopefully, it's a decent weekend where you can get outside a little bit and breathe in some of that nice cool air, and maybe have a fire in your fireplace, and maybe whatever you do over the weekend. So we'll see you next week for Fireplace Friday. Thanks.